Hello and welcome to the Freethought Forum, a program put out by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I'm Larry Rhodes, and today we have Diane and Glenn who are going to talk to us about secular parenting. And we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you're not alone, even in East Tennessee. First, we're going to need to go over a few announcements while we invite you to start calling in at the number on the screen, 215-2288. And as you call, we'll talk about the announcements. Get a pen and paper. We'll later go into our email address.
Okay. Happy Hour with Atheist Society of Knoxville meets at Barley's tonight after the show for food, drink, and conversation. Conversations at Carrabba's is Wednesday, January 26th at 7 p.m. Look for the silver-jacketed copy of The God Delusion. Be standing up right on the table. For Ask members, we hope to have a movie night January 15th. Stay tuned for that. Rationalist of East Tennessee, The Evolution of Confusion, a DVD of Daniel Dennett's Sunday Morning, is Sunday morning, February 6th. And Knoxville's Community Meditation Center is an overview and hands-on demonstration. Learn about a nonprofit organization providing meditation services to individuals and families involved with the judicial system. That's Sunday morning, February 20th.
In addition to the Rationalists of East Tennessee and Atheist Society of Knoxville events, this month at the University of Tennessee, a lecture that will be of interest to many of our members and to the public is Does the New Testament Contain Forgeries? The Surprising Claims of Modern Scholars by Bart D. Ehrman. Thursday, January 27th at 5 o'clock, the University Center Auditorium. That's 1502 West Cumberland Avenue in Knoxville. You can park at the UC garage behind the University Center, and the reception will follow in the UC Crest Room. Ehrman is an expert on the New Testament manuscript tradition and the early Christian Apocrypha, the Apostolic Fathers, and the historical Jesus. He is also a gifted teacher who has made his scholarly expertise readily accessible to the audiences of The Daily Show, The Colbert Report, and History Channel.
He's also written several books, including Jesus Interrupted, Revealing the Hidden Contradictions of the Bible, Misquoting Jesus, the story about who changed the Bible and why, and Lost Scriptures, books that did not make it into the New Testament. If you have friends who live out of town and might want to watch our program without cable, they can always go to ctvknox.org and watch it streaming online at the live time, 5:30 to 6 every Tuesday. Previous slide was the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Today's show is secular parenting. There are a lot of resources out there today for parents who want to raise their child in a religious environment. Religious coloring books, religious textbooks, all kinds of story books that are built around Bible stories. How do you find it in today's society to try to raise your child in East Tennessee or in the South or even in any religious environment?
Well, since we live in the Bible Belt, it's extremely difficult in fact, we did homeschooling last year, and there's no materials that we could find that's really geared to homeschoolers from a non-religious perspective.
Okay.
So much of it is so religious-based.
Right. I do hear an awful lot about religious homeschooling, but you don't hear much about secular homeschooling. We have a phone call already in the program. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May I have your name or a question?
Well, hello, yes. Call me Lee, and I was calling in, and I was going to ask these parents, what do they teach their kids about Santa Claus? And do they think that perhaps teaching about Santa Claus might, and then, be kind of a dry run for teaching them about how other people have this sort of supernatural view of the world that maybe isn't right?
Okay, good question, Lee. Thank you.
All right, I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we actually don't teach our kids about Santa Claus, not necessarily that it's wrong or anything, in our opinion. It's just when our son was small, we didn't teach him about Santa Claus because at the time we were of a religious background that was so religious, that I felt it was lying to our kids. Yeah, you know, so I didn't do that. So my youngest son kind of missed out on that, you know. Of course, we have a 2-year-old now, and we're not real big on what Santa bringing and that kind of thing, but we don't shun it either, and we don't, you know, just act like it's just kind of it's because Christmas to us is just a holiday, you know. It's a time for us to spend with family, friends, to give gifts and things like that.
It can be celebrated on its own right without the religious bagging or anything.
And we've actually thought about trying to do like a humanist version, you know, because it's right around the same time, and we want to teach our kids about, you know, the importance of how we're all connected, you know, and to be kind.
There actually is the holiday, I think it's called Happy Human Light Day, and I believe it's December 21st, I think.
No, the solstice.
Yeah, something like that. So
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, I think it's called Human Light Day.
I heard of solstice, of course. I haven't heard of Human Light Day.
Yeah, I think it's December 21st, something around there.
Yeah, I always thought that Santa Claus was like God for kids, because it tells them somebody's watching them every minute, somebody's reading their thoughts, somebody's going to punish them for being good or bad. Yeah. Of course, the punishments get much worse when you switch over to the God belief.
Right.
But at the same time, it's a basis, I think, for paranoia. And, you know, if somebody is watching you all the time, you're paranoid, I would think.
Yeah.
Especially if that person has the power to throw you into eternal punishment.
Yeah.
Right. But at least the Santa figure is a much better person, you know, in my opinion, because...
Oh, yes. Because he's never killed anybody, given the plague to anybody, or
kill the babies.
Kill babies.
Exactly.
Grounded them.
He just withholds toys if you're not good. So
he may even give them something instead. Coal. Coal can be useful. He can use it to write with.
That's probably religious, you know, symbolism.
Yeah. So your kids, I assume, ask how we got here and why we're here and stuff. What do you tell them about that?
Well, we teach them about evolution and, you know, the scientific basis for life, and we don't have to tell them about God or, you know, or that kind of stuff. My son, he doesn't believe that, and he thinks it's foolish, you know, to believe it.
And your son is how old?
9.
9 years old.
Yeah, he's 9.
He must run into other religious children and play and at school and stuff, or, well, you homeschool.
Well, this year he's back in regular school. Okay. But, yeah.
Does he bring home stories about his encounters?
Yeah,
occasionally.
Quite frequently. In fact, today, I was mentioning before the show started, one of the guys here, some of the students were actually harassing him because they found out he's an atheist. And so...
kids can be very cruel.
He doesn't bother other kids because of for their belief, but yet he's going to harass for his lack of belief. And it's the same way with us. These issues don't go away in life, whether you're a kid or you're in college or you're grown up. Other people seem to look down on you if you have a lack of belief, and I don't understand that.
Well, you told him, obviously, that we do believe in all kinds of things, like we believe in treating each other well, we believe in education, good education, work ethic, scientific method. We believe in all kinds of things. We just don't happen to believe in the God that they believe in.
Right.
And their God that they believe is not the same God that 3/4 of the world believes in. You know, when you talk about Muslim and Buddhism and Taoism and Confucianism and all the other religions of the world. Anyway, what do you tell them about some of the people? You say they believe in God, we don't, or you don't. You've let them make up their own mind, I assume, at this point. But how do you explain to them that some people do?
Well,
or that you did at one time. I did, myself.
Because people are raised that way, you know. I think that people believe how they do because someone told them to believe that way, you know. Because if you were born in another part of the world, you wouldn't necessarily be a Christian, you know.
It really is a learned behavior. See, we're all born atheists. We're all born with a lack of belief in a supernatural deity. And then these are learned behaviors, whether it's your Baptist God or your Catholic God, which is the same God, obviously, but just a little different slant on it within the... But it's a learned behavior. But of course, we unlearned that behavior.
Right.
And
when you start questioning it just a little bit, it doesn't take a whole lot to realize that the foundation it's built on is basically stories that have been handed down around a campfire and then put down
in fact, it was
for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
It was the Bible that actually really aided in our atheism.
Right.
You know, for the most part.
I didn't have to go outside the
Extremely
Bible.
cruel book.
Yeah, my son one time was, sharing a story that he had read in the Bible with some neighborhood children, and their parents got all angry, that he was telling, they were like, what are you telling your kids to tell our kids? And we're like, first of all, I didn't tell him anything, and this is him, and I can't help it if your Bible offends you.
Don't you tell your child to read the Bible?
It was a Bible story, and they were angry about it, and
The actual story was the story of Jephthah in Judges chapter 11, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And so,
Second Judges or something, chapter 11.
Yeah.
Where we have an example of human sacrifice in the Bible.
Right. And so that story disturbs my son, but when he goes to share this to the kids, they tell their parents, and then this parent comes screaming at us in a rage, and I'm just calm, and I'm just like, well, at first I'm calm, but then I'm like, you need to leave because
you don't need to be here in that type of mindset.
It's ridiculous, but
if surely you have to tell them some reason for being good. If you don't have God or Santa Claus or somebody watching you all the time, what do you tell them?
Well, I mean,
it's just right.
It's the right thing. I mean, we're all equal. Everyone deserves to have equality and justice and to be treated right and fairly. And so we try to instill these things. I believe I'm a better person now being an atheist than I was as a Christian.
A lot more tolerant, I would think.
More tolerant. I see people as, to me, it doesn't matter the color of their skin, their sexual orientation. It's irrelevant.
Saint or sinner, you see in judgment, that way.
Plus, when you're a Christian, part of your dogma is that everybody's a dirty sinner.
Right.
Everybody is fallen. They have no self-worth. They need to get their worth from God and Jesus. It's the only worth they have. That type of thing. But as a human, a humanist or a secular person, you realize that we all have innate personal rights and values and beliefs that give us value, give us our own worth in this world. The Founding Fathers realized that when they said that we all have the right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nothing like that is in the Bible.
Right.
The Bible is not concerned about your happiness.
Yeah.
It's concerned about obedience and your believing.
Right.
There's an old saying, the Old Testament, if it could be boiled down into one word, it would be obey. And the New Testament would be boiled down into believe. But there's nothing in there about freedom.
That's true.
That type of thing. So how do you tell them about thinking? Do you tell them what to think, or do you tell them how to think?
Go ahead.
I think it's more of setting the example that, we're thinking people. We question everything. We don't just believe something, and then we follow the evidence. Science has tons of evidence to support their views, but there's no evidence, obviously, that there's an invisible man with a beard who lives in the sky who, impregnated a virgin girl, and then his son walked on water, and all these things. So, we stress evidence. We follow science because they have all the evidence to back up. Yes. Not that they're 100% right.
No, it's like everyone. We're all in the process of learning and going from a state of ignorance to a state of knowledge. And we know that knowledge is not something that's just handed to you. We have to dig it out of nature. At the front line of that is science, and it delivers detail after fact after nuance from going forward. We wouldn't be on TV now if it weren't for sciences. Science. We wouldn't know about dietary or health issues or any of this without science. And there's an old thing that says, God may give you a revelation about some new thing in the world, but it would take science to verify that it was right or not.
Right.
Again, this is a call-in show. You may reach us at 215-2288. Freethought Forum is put on by the Rationalists of East Tennessee and the Atheist Society of Knoxville. The Atheist Society right now has a happy hour going on down at the Old City and at Barley's Tap Room. Starts at 5:30. They're probably watching this on the local TV there. And you're welcome to come down and visit us. You can always tell where we are by finding this upright copy of the silver-jacketed God Delusion standing up on the table. I read a piece today that you might want to comment on. It says how to raise an angry atheist in 3 easy steps. And one is isolate your child. Do not let him get into contact with other atheists or free-thinking children. Don't let him know that there are other kids in the world like him. Step two, shelter them from the knowledge of other world religions, so that when they actually go to college, they have to take a class on religion to find out what the prodigal son meant, because they're just out in the cold. They have no idea. And three, don't provide your children with any rational foundation for morals. So these are things, obviously, that you don't do. You don't isolate your children. You give them knowledge of religions, your own and others, or your previous one, and you give them rational foundation for their morals.
Right.
Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I think you want to.
Okay.
How'd you have something?
Well, I think that our son learns a lot from us, because we try to be very thinking. Well, we think a lot and we read a lot and we try to search things out, and he sees that from us. So I think he's going to, have that rational foundation for
thinking and for morals.
For thinking and for morals.
We have a phone call coming in, so
Their
welcome.
faces are being cut off.
Welcome to Freethought Forum.
Did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. What's your name?
Hi, this is Shara.
Hi, Shira.
I wanted to ask the couple a question about their children's experiences in public schools. I realize they've done some homeschooling, but when they have had their children in the public schools in this area, have they had any encounters with school policies or teachers or principals or at PTA meetings? I'm just wondering how other parents, the majority of whom I assume are Christians, act as adults in that school-related situation.
Right. Well, we're new here to the Knoxville area, but we moved just recently from Cleveland, and there was an issue at my son's school there. And of course, I talked to the teacher about it, and she's like, well, you don't have to explain yourself. And I told the principal about it as well. But basically, my son, was, he's going to just catch some slack from people for being an atheist. He was never physically harmed or anything like that. But other kids, they just poke fun at him and tell him. I think one kid's even called him a fool because he's an atheist.
And he had a library teacher talk about a book before, right. And she was talking about the one true God. We said something to the principal about it because, it was in our opinion, no one should be saying that in public school. And he was very kind about it. He said, I'll definitely speak to her and that will never happen again. So we haven't had a lot of negative things other than how sometimes when kids find out what he believes, they do pick on him and they act like he's not a good person because of that.
In fact,
were those experiences in Cleveland, Tennessee, or in Cleveland, Ohio?
Tennessee,
Tennessee.
And here in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Tennessee, okay. Well, thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Thanks, sure. I've run across a few books that might interest the audience. Parenting Beyond Belief, raising ethical, caring children without religion. There's Raising Freethinkers, it's a practical guide for the Parenting Beyond Belief. The Trouble with Christmas by Tom Flynn, a good book. And A Solstice Tree for Jenny. by Karen Schrack. And there are several others. The key to this is just go on Google or wherever your searching engine is and just type secular parenting, and you'll get a plethora of resources that will help you out. Let's see. Here's one of the websites that I came up with. Okay. And I don't know if you can zoom in on that. I guess okay, you can't. The Secular Parent is one of the premier ones out there. So if you can get to that, that's fine. Did we have another phone call? Okay. Welcome to Freethought Forum. This is Larry. May I have your name?
David.
David, do you have a question or comment?
Yes, I have a comment. I'm 61 years old, and I've been brought up in religion all my life, and I've struggled with it, and I've finally just given up on it. Because I've been on the internet now and looking at these different ministries, evangelists and so forth, and the jets they fly around in, and the poor people. I felt I was getting condemned every time I would go listen to one of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would just leave feeling worse than I did when I got there.
And even if
thought it was just me, but as I've grown older, I found out that it may possibly not be just me.
Yeah. And even if that particular preacher praised you for what you believed, you could walk halfway down the block and find another preacher who would condemn you for what he said.
That's right.
So
that's right. But I just turned your program on here, and I just wanted to call in and make a comment. I'm just really nauseated as what I've seen on the internet here about all these ministries and the money and I won't call any names because I don't want to cause y'all any problems, but there's one female pastor that has a $23,000 commode.
Yeah, that's
just took up offerings from poor, widow women, people owning fixed incomes and so forth. That really makes me mad.
Mm-hmm. Well, like we were talking about a little earlier, there are some Freethought associations here in Knoxville. If you might want to contact them and find some other like-minded souls, the Rationalists of East Tennessee and the Atheist Society of Knoxville.
Okay, I plan on pursuing that. Thank you.
Sounds very good. Thank you. So, have you found any resources that you'd like to tell us about that help you in your secular parenting?
Some of the books you had mentioned earlier is some of the titles. I had actually I've not had a chance to read them yet, but I've not done a lot of research on it yet. But Raising Free Thinkers, I think you mentioned that one earlier. And then just I was trying to think. I don't really have
That's funny. Raising Free Thinkers is one, but there's another one out there that says Raising Three Thinkers because he had 3 children.
Oh, okay.
So there are 2. That's not just one.
Yeah, I don't really know about too many others.
Okay. I found a secular coloring book online today. It teaches about science and mutual respect for each other, and it's at the Church of the Spiritual Humanists. Humanism. It's online.
Spiritual humanism.
Spiritual humanism. Matter of fact, if you go there, you can be ordained free in that church. Huh. Welcome to Freethought Forum. This is Larry. May I have your name?
Hi. Yes, I was calling. I had a question for your guest.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh, okay. What I wanted to know is I have actually read a couple books about a few different books with different people who used to be atheists, and they had come to a point, I guess, where they were close to death or died and came back with a completely different outlook. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of wondering what you guys thought of that. I mean, it's not to sway one way or the other.
Right.
It's just I just kind of wanted to know what was your opinion on that. I don't know if you've ever heard of any of the authors.
I haven't personally, but I'm sure that there are some tales out there that and books by people who profess that they've seen all kinds of things, but I'll let the guest answer your question.
Well, I'm not sure which authors you're speaking of, but I mean, I know that there's a guy named Lee Strobel who's real big into the Christianity stuff now, and he was an atheist at one point. Mm-hmm. But obviously, I mean, they're not going to be able to convince me that they experience anything. I know there is some explanations as to how some people explain these near-death experiences and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The mind isn't like an altered, like some type of altered.
Well, I mean, your brain is in the process of shutting down. Who knows what kind of thought processes and images and sounds will be going through your brain at that time? If the doctors are able to turn you around and bring you back to normalcy, who knows what kind of tales you're going to be having from that period of time. Even when you're going to sleep at night, you can have auditory hallucinations, visual hallucinations. The brain is a funny thing. It takes a lot of different stimulus in different ways.
I think sometimes that religion, I think, this is personal opinion, but I think sometimes people can use religion as a means to cope with situations like that, because maybe their body or their mind doesn't know how to react to what they've just experienced, and they feel they need answers, and that's where they find them.
And they'll make them up if they don't.
But it's not necessarily true. It's just a way for you to cope.
Right. Who was that author you were talking about earlier? I can't remember his name.
Lee Strobel.
Lee Strobel. It's funny that he always says that, I used to be an atheist, but if you read his work, he says in his work that there's no such thing as an atheist, that everybody deep down believes in God. So how could he have been an atheist if he actually believed in God at any point in his life? I mean, when he said he was an atheist, he believed in God.
My mom actually got us his DVD collection about the Case for Christ for Christmas, which I thought was kind of ironic. But we read a couple things of his at one point when we were doing some searching and things, and we just think that. And one of the things he said was the Bible has, it's unanimous in all its points. There's no contradictions, whatsoever, and that right there was made me question everything you ever said.
Obviously never read any books that outline any of the contradictions.
The Bible's full of contradictions.
Well, specifically, he said
especially in the
Gospels.
And I have one other question. Do you believe, the people in the Bible, say Jesus Christ, for instance, do you think they're just, do you believe that they're just stories, or do you believe that these might have been real people?
I think it's very possible that there was a man named Jesus, who lived around that time frame. But the thing with me is, as one author of one of the books I read, who said the smoking gun is basically, that disproves Christianity, the smoking gun, is the fact that Jesus did not return when he said he would. So if there really was a man named Jesus who lived and who was crucified, and he made the claim that he was going to return within a generation, those listening to him, and it's been 2,000 years and he's not come back.
Yeah.
So to me, nothing he said is it matters.
At the same time, and we're getting out of time here.
Yeah.
The same time is, if somebody told me those tales today, even somebody I loved and knew, I couldn't believe them. They're outlandish. They're miraculous in that they go against nature and physics and science. And you can take the Bible for the teachings, but I wouldn't go for anything else. We want to thank you for watching. You can reach us. I'm sorry, I have to hang up now.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. You can reach us at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. I'd like to thank Diane and Glenn for being our guests today, and Sam and everyone for helping us out today. You can get copies of the DVDs at 215-8848.